many Manchester United fans listening to us right now go home and away and have done for decades.
And they get to watch what they pay for.
Unlike the Glazers, who pick their moments to come across the pond.
Unlike Sheikh Mansour.
Andy in Manchester. Simon, all the Manchester United fans want is the club to be run in a proper and decent manner. Good grief, the roof was leaking at the weekend. He's right.
Well, as we discussed it yesterday.
As long as they're there, the Glazers, no one's going to fix the damn roof.
It doesn't make a look. Well, it's not the Glazers that are going to fix the roof. That is a decision that won't even reach their desk. Let's be clear. If that roof costs a couple of hundred, I was talking about millions of pounds yesterday, and I sat there thinking about, well, it's not going to cost millions of pounds. It costs millions of pounds to put a new roof on. But if they're going to fix the roof under this principle of how little they care, do you genuinely think that the Glazers are sitting in Florida or wherever they're based, being asked for a capital expenditure for 100 grand to fix a roof? That's on Richard Arnold. That's on the diligence of the people that are on the ground. Because that argument, if it wasn't that argument, it would be something else. The bottom line is that the Manchester United fans loathe the way they've bought the club.
Yeah, they do.
They loathe it. They loathe the principles of a football club being bought as a result of a leverage deal, interest being paid and dividends being paid out.
Because it's their club.
Well, that's fine, but it isn't, is it? Because they don't own it.
That doesn't make them delusional.
Well, they're delusional if they think someone else is going to come along and just give them precisely and concisely what they want from their long list of ridiculous demands. I've listened to these people from the Man United Supporters Trust who, on the whole, talk absolute drivel, and listened to it and thought to myself, what billionaire? I'm sorry, people don't like to hear this. What billionaire is going to walk in a room? They'll pay lip service. They'll give you what they're prepared to give you, but they won't give you anything more than they're prepared to give you. So this ridiculous notion that someone's going to buy an institutional asset like Manchester United for 5, 6, 7 billion quid and listen to a group of supporters about how it should be run is for the birds.
Yeah, but when they
and
listen
you might
to
not like it, and you might not think it's very polite.
Though, the Manchester United fans are delusional, and the Glazers. There's nothing really wrong there.
Let me reposition that. Certain segments of the Manchester United fan base are delusional, and there is lots wrong with the Glazers.
What's wrong with them?
Well, of course there is.
What's wrong with them?
Well, because they're running a football club that's achieving no success. They've turned Manchester United from a club that were the poster boys from the Premier League into a commercial success that has no heart on the pitch.
Now we're talking.
They've allowed that to happen. You'd have to be blind. I'd have to be Ray Charles sitting here and describing it differently.
I haven't heard you say that before, though.
I've said it forever and a day. But the idea that the Glazers are the devil incarnate, the idea that the Glazers don't spend any money, the idea, and yes or no, I know before you get in and pile in, it's not their money.
And it's not.
Unfortunately, it is their money because they own the football club. So it is their money. So with that in mind, ultimately, people have to accept not everybody is going to be a Middle Eastern consortium that loved Manchester so much that they couldn't wait to come over and buy Man City just for those hard done by Man City fans. They did it for their own reasons. And of course, all these Manchester United fans that laughed and sniggered behind their hands about the ownership of Man City would now be the biggest hypocrites on the planet because they'll take a Qatari
all United
ownership.
Fans want is somebody like a Tony Bloom. Come in with the best intentions and says what he means, does what he means.
And that's fine. That's a different animal, though. Brighton is not Manchester United. I'm afraid that is a false comparison because Manchester United is a huge brand around the world that's attracting people. No one's going to be buying Brighton for 6 billion quid. No one's going to be talking about Brighton. You might do because they're your favourite hobby horse right now.
I know,
but no one's going to talk about Brighton dawn till dusk every single day the way they do about Man United. Every show constantly has a feature on Man United, and the reason being because Manchester United are arguably the biggest club in the world. Right? And they still achieve remarkable commercial revenues on a side that's won 1 trophy in 6 years. Sorry, 2 trophies in 6 years.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So with that in mind, 3 because Mourinho won 2, didn't he? So 3 in 7 years, right? So Man United have won 3 trophies in 7 years. A stable diet, to all of that to one side. Brighton is a comparison, is a false comparison, it's a false equivalency. Because A, Tony Bloom wouldn't have the wealth to own Manchester United.
No, of course not.
And
I get that.
And B, the expectations of Manchester United are far different than they are to Brighton. Brighton is a project that Tony Bloom has put his heart and soul in. Manchester United is a living, breathing monolith.
Yeah, but you appreciate there are many extremely wealthy people in the world who, if they so choose, could buy Manchester United and run it in a hell of a lot better fashion than the Glazers.
Well, that remains to be seen.
That's true.
They couldn't buy Manchester United unless the Glazers told them that they would sell them their shareholding.
Exactly.
So the only way they can buy Manchester United is with all the background noise, all the drivel that gets perpetuated through the media and all the perpetuation of the idea that they're going to be leveraged out.
You're the one with the drivel saying United fans are delusional.
I've been saying since the get-go that the Glazers will only sell this football club when it suits.
How kind of them.
And but that's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's some observation. Why is that? Because they're the owners.
Because the rest of it is just brouhaha. Right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, media spin, because the Glazers aren't going to be leveraged out of the football club. The fans aren't going to boot them out. They aren't going to do anything other than what they want to do. And I've been saying that for the last 18 months. And here we are today with precisely that being in the outcome. And the bottom line is that whether we agree with the Glazers' principles of how they run this business, the fact that they've spent
nobody does.
Well, lots of commercial people would agree with it. The emotive side of football.
Do you agree with it?
I think it's a hell of a deal. If you could pull a deal together like that and still have success on the pitch, well, there's no excuse for this. The success on the pitch things may be cyclical. I mean, nobody's had this challenge like Man City. Man City are a side that would have decimated Liverpool in the 70s, would have decimated anyone's domination of English football. And no one quite had that. Arsenal were knocking on the door. Other people have been knocking on the door. But Man City are a different phenomenon. So there's a whole raft of reasons why United are underachieving. And one of them is because the Glazers haven't put the right people in place. But it isn't because they haven't spent enough money. And it isn't because they loaded it with debt. And it isn't because they've paid dividends. It's because they've spent 1.7 billion via managers and chief executives that have not produced outcomes. So ultimately their fault, but doesn't mean that it isn't without caveat.
Here's Andy, a Chelsea fan, loving Simon this morning. I loathe United. Long live the Glazers. They're out there, that's for sure.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.